C-Suite Edge podcast. I'm your host, John Light, founder and president of Sabretooth Recruiting. And today I have Melissa Hurrington with me. Melissa, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here today.
Well, one of the things that really had me keyed up for this is that you are with a company that I have never seen before. What you guys do is, to me, it's completely novel. Not completely novel. I understand the function, but
hmm
precisely who you do that function for and the why behind it and your business model is kind of new to me. So, could you kind of give us that 90-second overview of your background and what led you to Premier Claims today?
Sure. So, like you said, Melissa Hurrington, CFO and VP of Operations of Premier Claims. We are a public adjusting firm. So, most people also, not only have they not heard of Premier Claims, they haven't heard of public adjusting. So, we work property insurance claims, but we advocate on behalf of the policyholder. So, we actually go toe to toe, head to head up against your insurance carrier after your property has experienced some kind of a loss. So
Hmm.
typically you're talking hail, wind, fire, hurricane, all of those natural disasters that seem to be crazier and crazier by the day. We advocate on your behalf to hold your insurance carrier accountable to pay the claims out appropriately according to the policy that they wrote at the end of the day.
Interesting. You know, I've always looked at insurance as this place of massive litigation.
Yeah.
And I've also looked at the industry as a whole as a necessity. You know, and then
hmm
let's step away from health insurance for a second, right? And just
Yep.
focus on property, on casualty, things of that
Yeah.
nature. You know, liability for businesses and whatnot.
Yep.
You know, I've seen firsthand companies refuse to pay out at limit or even get close to it in
hmm
litigious situations or mediation or whatever. But I know it's got to be a source of frustration when you consider a hurricane hitting your community or a tornado, or like
Yep.
just happened in LA with the Palisades fires.
Yes.
I can't but imagine there are a lot of people, by virtue of the fact they've never had to deal with a claims process,
Yeah.
feel maybe they aren't taken advantage of in fact, but they could certainly feel that way.
It
You
can
know, just
feel that
because
way.
it's an unfamiliar process, right?
It is. It is. Like, I have a couple opinions on this. As public adjusters, we are pro insurance.
Hmm.
For our business, for our building, we carry a large amount of insurance. The higher the coverage we can get, the better. Like, we are all in on insurance. But the reality is at the end of the day, your insurance company is a for-profit business, as are we. Make no mistake, right? But they are a for-profit business. And like any business, what do? You control your expenses.
Hmm.
And what are your expenses? Claim payouts. So there's that. Like people need to own the fact that a lot of guys, like they have a guy that they've gone to since bought their first car, and that's who
Hmm.
their insurance is through. And then as their life has evolved and their insurance portfolio has evolved, typically they're still using that guy. But that's not the person adjusting your claims, right? Your broker is not the person adjusting the claims. You don't have a relationship with that claims adjuster.
Hmm.
And one thing where I think the United States has gotten it wrong here, I would say it is brilliant marketing on behalf of insurance carriers, is that this was designed to be a negotiation. The process from jump was designed to be a negotiation. And like any negotiation, they offer low, expecting you to ask high, and then we're going to work our way to the middle.
Hmm.
But thanks to, I mean, case studies could be done on the brilliant marketing from insurance carriers, right? Like, we're on your side, you're in good hands, the funny commercials that people have forgotten that it was designed to be a negotiation from jump.
Hmm.
And then to further complicate it, in my opinion, when you're talking property insurance claims, which is exclusively what we work, the average person, like you and I, don't know what is damaged on our property. I can't, like, I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, so we're in hailstorm central. Hail falls
Hmm.
on my roof. I stand in my driveway and I look up at my roof, and looks like it's fine to me, right? I got nothing. I have no idea. I don't know the value of my roof. I don't know whether or not the roof is damaged. I know it's not raining inside of my house.
Hmm.
So the roof must be doing its job, right? But you compare that to car insurance, and there's a Kelly Blue Book. So I know equally less about cars, okay? But if my car is impacted and it needs to be replaced, I can go to Kelly Blue Book and I know the date, like the year, the make, the model. I
Hmm.
don't necessarily know what the rest of those, I don't know what V8 means, but there's the numbers on the back of my car so I can answer the questions and it can tell me how much my car is worth.
Yeah.
That doesn't, there's no Kelly Blue Book of roofs. There's no Kelly Blue Book of business income or business interruption loss because your warehouse was impacted by a hurricane and you can no longer produce items right now. There
Right.
is no Kelly Blue Book. So, how is the average consumer supposed to even know? And then, when's the last time you read your insurance policy? I'm going to guess the answer is never.
Well, I mean, I've probably speed read my way through it, you know.
I'm gonna honestly guess like when you go and you get your insurance policy, what you
Hmm.
get back is called the declaration pages. It's the information you need to know. How
Yeah.
much coverage do I have? What type of policy, the property that's covered, and how much am I paying is how much we really care about, right?
Right.
So your actual policy is 50, 100, commercial, sometimes 250 plus pages long. Nobody's reading that. So you don't even know the rules in which you're being asked to play by. So yeah, I mean we are team insurance. We
Hmm.
believe in insurance. I'm grateful for insurance for every single one of our insureds that we work with, but it's just about advocacy. Who is going to advocate for you to make sure that you're taken care of? And so we enjoy being those experts.
So if someone's listening to this right now, I mean, because you just covered an immense amount of territory.
We do 47 states, basically all of them.
No, no, but I'm just talking when you think about the different ways that you could step in there. You know, the different problems that you're defining.
Yep.
There's a host of them. What would you say the
Yep.
biggest, gnarliest problem you solve for your customers is?
The biggest thing is overturning denied claims.
Okay.
So they've filed a claim and it has been outright denied. They've said, no, there's not damage, or yes, there's damage and this damage is old. Yes, there's damage, but it's cosmetic. It's not functional, therefore you don't have coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe there is some damage, but it's less than your deductible. So the biggest thing that we do is when somebody has received $0 after a loss, is advocating on their behalf and ultimately, in the simplest form, getting a check in the mail. That is the problem that we solve to help them be able to restore their business, their home, whatever it may be, back to its
Mm-hmm.
full value.
Man. So, so this is fascinating to me, right? That
Yeah.
I haven't heard someone say it was designed to be a negotiation from the jump when it comes to an
You don't
insurance
think about
claim
it.
or a payout. But it makes total sense. I mean, our court system at its heart is adversarial, be it criminal, be it
It is.
civil. And this
Yep.
sounds like there's some adversarial color in here because if you're negotiating,
Yeah.
obviously somebody's advocating one side and someone's advocating another. And my
Yep.
my contention has always been for most people, it's horribly expensive and it's terrifying. I have to go
Mm-hmm.
retain an attorney. Oh no,
Mm-hmm.
if I retain an attorney, will this take 2 years to sort out?
It
You know,
will. Yes.
and am I going to be out of money and
Yep.
unable to rebuild my warehouse, restock inventory, have a
Yep.
home to live in that 2 year
Yep.
period or more? And I think most people find that very, very frightening.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, because I think it'd be interesting to hear, how do you
Mm-hmm.
balance that out? I mean, the difference being, you know, an insurance claim adjuster works for the insurance company, but you are worked
Yep.
for and are paid by the whoever's making the claim, the
Yep.
customer, if you will. So you're on the other side of the equation from the insurance company relative to being adversarial. How do you calm things down and resolve things in a way that actually get them resolved with a minimum of weight and a minimum of stress. And you and I were talking earlier, what people didn't hear, Melissa, is kind of funny,
Yeah.
accounting and finance experience. I tell people all the time,
Yeah.
one of the reasons I left accounting is all my hair left. And I've been trying to get it back since then. It hasn't come back because there's a lot of
How's
stress
that going?
involved, a lot of
Yeah.
challenges. But this is something very, very personal. If your home
It
goes up
is.
in smoke or gets flooded or
Yep.
blown down, or your business, and how am I going to support the 10 or 20 or 30 employees we have, and
Yep.
so how do you help people navigate that?
Um, it, Truthfully, the biggest thing is just hearing them out.
Hmm.
We have a fantastic customer service department here that they are here ultimately to ask questions and gather the information that they need to work the claim, but they're there to be an ear, to talk through how it's impacted them. The insurance claim process is so stressful. It takes too long because very rarely is it, yes, you have like house fires where the
Hmm.
house in that neighborhood went up, but typically it's large scale storms, right? So you're working something like Hurricane Helene where it did $90 billion in damage. So
Right.
you are just like one of tens of thousands of people who are waiting on your adjuster to get out there. So it does take long because of the nature of a huge tornado comes through,
Hmm.
it's hail season. So a hailstorm comes through, and there was one last night, impacted 60,000 properties, right? That the volume makes the process take long. It's just a reality. And so the biggest thing is hearing somebody out, being an ear, being somebody that says, I know this is frustrating. And then just helping people realize that they don't have to go at it alone. You don't have to be an
Hmm.
expert in roofs because I got experts in roofs. You don't have to be an expert in policy because I have attorneys on staff. And there is no one better to read the fine print in a policy than attorneys. They love that stuff, right? They're living their best
Hmm.
life going through your insurance policies. You don't have to do these things, and we'll do it on your behalf. One thing to note is we are a 100% contingent business. So we only win when you win. At the end of the day, we take a percentage of the check that's released. So we've gotten 10, 20, $30 million released on some college campuses we've worked in the past, and we take a percentage of that. And then
Hmm.
there's plenty of times we get $0 released after months or even years negotiating a claim. And we shake hands and part ways and have lessons learned. And I've taken my percentage on a $17 check before, right? That everything in between. So there's no upfront money for anyone. You have skin in the game in the term of it's your property,
Hmm.
it's your business, but we are only going to win when you win.
No, I think there's a lot to be said that's positive for that, because your customer
Yeah,
base, your clientele that you're focusing on, and the situation, they probably can't turn around and stroke a $10,000 retainer check.
right. Right,
They're
like I
paying.
got to go find somewhere else to live because my property is inhabitable, that there's already all these upfront costs for sure. And then it's just making it clear of no matter what, I can't put you in a worse place than
Hmm.
what you're currently find yourself in, right? We're in a tough business. I've said before, like we're the definition of a day late and a dollar short. You should have never had to hire us from the beginning. Most
Hmm.
customers come to us frustrated because it's taken too long. Their neighbor has a new roof and their claim is still denied, right? You come to us frustrated. We ultimately get you a great result, but you still kind of leave frustrated because that shouldn't have taken 6 months and I shouldn't have had to pay you. And it's like, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So it is a day late and a dollar short. We've learned to accept that as a reality, but it is so rewarding to
Yeah.
help people make sure that they can get just back to their life.
Well, that's the thing too. I don't think anybody in their right mind, by and large, people don't go file an insurance claim to put themselves in the next bracket of how they live. They just want to get
Yep.
back to normalcy. It's
Yeah.
that's the whole thing, is how do we get back to true, as it were.
Yes. Yep.
So, Melissa, let me ask you this question, because I think it's important, because
Okay.
I'm very intrigued. I'm already thinking about, wow, I mean, where would you guys have been? How helpful would it have been to have someone like you, for example, when my dad lost 40% of his roof in a hurricane,
Hmm.
and he had a tarp on that place, multiple tarps on that place for a very long time. I want to say over a year. I mean,
Yes,
it was a mess.
probably. Yeah.
It'd have been great to have an advocate alongside to help him,
Yeah.
for sure. So if somebody wants to talk with you or your team about the process, about learning more and figuring out, hey, is this something that I might need to have,
Yep.
either on the ready or now, as the case may
Yeah.
be, what's the best way for them to find and get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the best way to get a hold of us is at our website, premier-claims.com. The best way to get a hold of me is on LinkedIn, Melissa Hurrington. It is Hurrington. Most people think it's Melissa Harrington, but it is Hurrington. You can find me on LinkedIn. I respond to all of my LinkedIn messages for sure. Or the website, you can reach out directly to our adjusters. There's a way on there to submit a claim for review. We do free reviews of your policy, photos that you may have, anything else. We love in a perfect world, um, people retain us in some capacity pre-loss because I want to review your policy. Like right now, prepping for hurricane season, there's all sorts of exclusions and other things. Let's make sure you have the right policy in place should you experience something like a hurricane. Let me document your property in a pre-loss condition so no one can come out after that hailstorm and say, no, those are old hail hits because we already have photos right here showing that those did not exist before the season or anything else. But certainly we are happy to help you after the storm and make sure that you can be properly indemnified.
Awesome. Melissa, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.